Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to another episode of Retro Flashback, showcasing gaming's roots for a new generation. Today we're going to be taking a look at not just the first Wii Virtual Console game, not Wii U, original Wii Virtual Console game on the show, but we are also going to be taking a look at the first Genesis game on the show. And it's actually a pretty terrible game we're going to be looking at. So I should preface before I go into this that the fact that the first game we're looking at for the Genesis is the pretty bloody awful Altered Beast, that should no way be taken as a slight on the Genesis slash Mega Drive platform itself. I absolutely love this system. I never owned one, but I played a lot of it when I was a kid with a friend of mine who had one, and it had a lot of really great games, and it was arguably the best system Sega ever made. Some would say the Dreamcast, which is a fair point as well. But yeah, it was a really good system. But the reason we're going to be looking at Altered Beast first is not so much because it's known to be a bad game, but it is historically significant. This was a game that was actually a pack-in with the Mega Drive and the Genesis, which means pack-in means that when you bought the system, this came in the box. And it was a technical showpiece. You know, when people saw this for the first time, the Super Nintendo wasn't out yet. So when people saw this and compared it to both the NES and in particular the Master System, this blew everyone away, and I was among those people. You know, at the time, this looked technically and graphically unfriggin' real. And it's also a beat 'em up, and I love beat 'em up games. That, along with shoot 'em ups, are two genres that have kind of faded by the wayside in the modern era and have been historically marginalized in many cases. I think both of these genres are great fun, but people kind of thought that, well, at the time people really liked them, but you ask a lot of people today and they'll be like, oh, beat 'em ups, they were never that good, you know, they always kind of sucked, and I disagree completely. And this is most certainly a beat 'em up, but that's what makes this historically significant. This is a horrible game. It's a horrible game now, and frankly it was a horrible game back then, but it was just so damn impressive at the time that everyone gushed over it. And I mean, we played a lot of this when we were young, and yeah, it doesn't hold up well, but I thought it was worth showcasing it because it is historically important. It is a well-known Sega title, for better or for worse, and yeah, I think it's worth showing it off here. So I am playing this on my Wii U, but this is done through the original Wii Virtual Console system, which does work on the Wii U, so you can do that. So, we are going to check this out. So, this is living on the SD card on my Wii right now, so when I run it, you're going to see it's going to need to copy some stuff. And I would say that this being the first... Oh yeah, actually, no, it didn't have to copy that because it was already in system memory. So, here we are. Like, this title screen, even at the time, everyone was like, what? It was incredible. And so... I thought I was going to use this opportunity as well to showcase some of just the original Wii Virtual Console's features, but you'll notice in my earlier F-Zero video that I did talk about the benefits of the Wii U system a lot, and frankly, there's not a lot to say about the Wii Virtual Console. This is what you get when you hit your home button. So you do get access to an electronic manual, you do get the ability to reset the game, and I kind of misspoke when I talked about the Wii U Virtual Console versus this. I kind of made it sound as though save states, which is the ability to take a snapshot of the game and resume back to it later, was a feature unique to the Wii U Virtual Console, and that is not the case. The Wii Virtual Console system does do it, but it is far less elegant and customizable, if you want to call it that. Basically what happens is, if you bring this menu up and you exit the game, it will remember where you were, it will save that state immediately, and when you next launch the game, it will come right back to that. Why I think the Wii U is far superior is because it allows you to choose when you save your restore point. So you can save it, come back to it later if you want. You can reset the game and reload it back to a different point if you want. which I think is a lot better. Like, I kind of don't like the way this does it, because I don't like the fact that if you've played a game before and you were at a certain point, when you load it up next, it doesn't start the game fresh. It starts you back where you were, even if you were just in the demo screen or something like that. That's kind of crappy. So you either have to reset it, or if you want it to start completely fresh, like I did with this, you actually have to go into your Wii U data management and remove the save data for it. Then it will start fresh. That's kind of a pain. It's not nearly as elegant. Definitely not a deal breaker. I mean, the Wii Virtual Console has a ton of kick-ass games on it, and it's a very, very minor point at worst. But the reason I bring that up is because there are a lot of games that are going to be duplicated across the two systems, and because buying it on one does not get it for you automatically on the other, if you have the option when you're looking for a particular title to buy it on the Wii or the Wii U Virtual Console, and you have a Wii U, if the Wii U version is available, always buy that one, because you get a bit of high definition upscaling, which you don't get here. You'll notice this video is in 480p. That's because that's all the Wii outputs, and believe me, looking at my 42-inch plasma right now, you can really see the difference. And yeah, the save stating is not as good. Plus, you don't get off-TV play on your Wii U gamepad, which is a really cool thing as well. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. So you'll see what's going on here. So this is a two-player simultaneous game if you want. It doesn't really get any better when you have a second person. It does get easier because the game doesn't really scale for that. But yeah, so I'm going to show you this here. This probably won't be very long because, yeah, this game kind of bites. So, but here.
Rise from your grave.
Rise from your grave. That was a crazy thing at the time. This game actually has a lot of voice in it. I'm not going to call it voice acting because it sounds friggin' awful for the most part. But it had voice clips in it, and at the time people were like, what? That's my favorite bit though right there. Power up. I'll let you hear that the next time I get it. It's great. So the concept of this is dead easy. You got an attack button and a jump button. And they use a combination of those two things. That's it. You'll see there are different enemies with different statistics, and
Power up.
there it is. So every time you kill one of those blue enemies, you'll notice that they drop one of those things. And you have multiple evolutions, so each one you theoretically get a little bit stronger. When you become the creature, wait for it.
Welcome to your doom.
Welcome to your doom. So when you become the creature, you have a huge... You can do crazy nut bar attacks, as you see here. This boss is really, really easy. I'm not taking any damage when he pushes me out like that. I only do when one of his crazy flying heads hit me. So if you time this right, you can take no damage from this. And yeah, the multiple evolutions is very cool. But here's the problem. As you notice there, these levels are all really, really friggin' short. And the problem is, as you'll see when I take this guy out, which I will be anytime now. There we go. Watch what more voice. You lose all your powers. So I played this level that lasted all of what, 90 seconds? And you get this neat little interstitial here. But yeah, I played a level that lasted all of a minute and a half, got all the power-ups, got the last one right when I got to the boss, used it to fight the boss, and then I lost everything. It's not quite as bad as that in other levels going forward. But yeah, it's pretty weak sauce. Like you get the powers.
Power up.
Oh god. You get the powers. They also die rather dramatically. And yeah, those jumping creatures there, if you can take out their tails before they come out, then that will help you survive. But you can also take off their heads, as you can see. And there is a score element here, but as you can see, the scoring system is kind of broken. Yes, now this was a cool bit too. Going forward, your power-up was not always the same. So as you see here, the last one I was that crazy kind of wolf thing, now I'm this neat dragon. And this is really cool because you obviously get sort of full freedom of movement when you're the dragon. Plus, you don't have a direct attack, you just have this crazy area of effect, which is really nice, but also attacking this guy's floating eye somehow hurts like his sort of main form, which I don't know how that works either, but you know, what the heck. But your goal is really just to try to avoid things because they take so much damage. So yeah, as I was saying, you see the scoring system is kind of broken. Like, you get a hundred here, a couple hundred there for hitting enemies and whatnot, but you notice that when I completed the last level, I got 100,000 points for beating the guy. So, I mean, the game keeps high score, and sure, you can do that, but there's so few enemies in a level, and so, you know, the scoring system is very arbitrary, and the patterns of the enemies don't change for the most part, so you have very little ability to sort of maximize and min-max your score potential, and you get these such massive, ridiculous bonuses for beating the bosses that it really it throws your score to the moon. So you see I'm over 200,000 points already just for taking the guy out. Like, I mean, they obviously put a score system in this because they felt it was necessary, and because this is based off an arcade game, that's the other reason. In this era, scoring systems were kind of necessary, especially in the arcade, so that's why they had one in here, but it was really somewhat pointless. Those guys I always find kind of funny. But yeah, as you can see, the gameplay is incredibly simplistic. It's slow. It's very plotting. They're forced scroll levels, so as you can see, you can't even... And then you get this crazy, like, club jazz music when you die. It's like, yeah, your game's over, but, you know, you can kind of groove out to that. It's alright. You know, don't need to worry so much. And that's it. You also don't get any continues. And that is where the rather extreme challenge also comes in this game. Because there are no continues, that's what makes it really hard. And that's how they sort of gave you, not replayability value, because why would you want to replay this, but that's where they sort of created the value proposition for this game, if you want to call it that, is it was very hard in a very generally arbitrary... get back here. In a very sort of arbitrary way, and they said, yep, no continues, so, you know, you gotta actually get really good at sort of maximizing the way to manage these patterns of really cheap moving enemies and to deal with your really plotting movement through these forced scroll areas. If you want to play this game, I definitely do recommend playing it with 2 players, because it's a pain when you're one player. As best as I can tell, and this is going to be way harder because I missed the first power-up. Oh yes, that's right, it continues on. I actually forgot about that. So, that is a little interesting point. If you do only trigger the boss if you are your sort of beast form when you reach him. If not, it will continue either 2 or 3 times, I think, before he will finally go, alright, you're fighting me whether or not you're fully leveled up, which is kind of weird. If you are interested in doing some kind of score attack, then that's the way you want to do it. You want that is how you could min-max it, because by having it continue on, you get more enemies, obviously. And yeah, that's okay, I guess, but I mean, that's just prolonging this boring, slow gameplay for even longer. And I mean, really, is there any kind of competitive... Well, that was cheap. Is there any kind of real competitive score scene for this title? I highly doubt it, and if there is, well, you got to be a special kind of player for that. I don't get it. So this is a pretty lame title. Like I said, it's historically significant because for the time period, it is a very impressive technical showpiece. It did show the potential of the Genesis and why you would probably want one from, if not a gameplay perspective, then definitely a graphical and sound one. But it's a bad game, people. Like, I had to pay money for this so I could show it to you. You know, let that be a warning. You know, let me suffer for you. Don't spend your own money on this game. If you must, it is available on the Wii Virtual Console, and get this, there is both this Genesis version as well as the original arcade version available. The arcade version costs an extra 200 Wii points, which is effectively $2, and there's basically no difference. They're essentially the same game, with the exception of the fact that like the arcade version is one that wanted you to put money into it, which obviously you don't have to, because if you buy it on Virtual Console, you're playing it for free. I cannot honestly understand why anyone would want to pay an additional $2 to get a version that says, you know, insert coin as opposed to press start. I don't know why Sega did that, but and why they charge more for it. I mean, frankly, you should probably get both for your $8. But yeah, I don't know. They did that anyway. But yeah, this is not good. I mean, believe me, what you've seen here, you've basically seen it all. You know, even if you're someone trying to make yourself familiar with some historically significant games, this is all you really need of this. There's a lot of other games where I would say, don't just look at me playing it, play it for yourself. You don't need to play this. Like, if anything, if you drew your first impressions of the Genesis from this in this day and age, you would probably look at it and go, wow, this system was friggin' crap. And it wasn't. The Genesis was great. In very short order, actually, after this, like very shortly after the launch period of the Genesis, there was a lot of really good games that came from this, and most of them were put out by Sega themselves. They put out some great stuff. But this game, if anything, the term tech demo was never really used that much back in this era, but that's really what this is. It's a graphical and auditory showpiece, but it is a crappy game. So, yeah, that is Altered Beast, published and developed by Sega for arcades and the Genesis in 1989. The date says 1988, but this came out in North America in 1989. Don't waste money on it. Don't play it. It is available on the Wii Virtual Console, and it is also available in various different Sega compilation collections for other systems. I don't actually have a list in front of me, but it is in those systems, or in those compilations. But if you buy one of those compilations, there are better games you could be playing instead of this. But at least you'd have it included, so you could at least experience its horribleness for yourself. There also there were 2 additional games in the Altered Beast series, if you were, that came out much later. They have really nothing to do with this. There was a game called Altered Beast Guardian of the Realm that was a beat-em-up for the Game Boy Advance that came out in 2002. I've never touched that. I didn't even know it existed until today. There also was an Altered Beast game for the Xbox 360 and I believe the PS3 as well that came out a few years ago. It came out in 2005 actually, and it was it was Sega's attempt to rip off Sony's God of War games, and I never played it, but it was pretty terrible as well by all accounts. So, but it really had nothing to do with this. But in the future, as I said, don't be put off by the Genesis because of what I said here. It's a great system, and I will showcase its better stuff in the future. But I thought this was an important title that was worth talking about. My name has been Parallax Abstraction. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.